Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another PC Boys podcast. I am your host, Logan Locke. So, today we're going to be talking about Avengers Doomsday and Daredevil Born Again. That is going to be the two major subjects of today's podcast. But of course, before we get started, I will have the link tree in the description down below so you can join the Discord, stay up to date with relatively everything, and just be a part of the community, share theories, what you think's going to happen with any of the upcoming Marvel movies, or just nerd stuff in general, as well as, of course, following our X, where I post stuff sometimes these days. I'll be honest with you guys, the PC Boys X page has been pretty dead for a while, just because I haven't really posted anything about it or talked about anything. But that mainly just has to do with my life being very busy. As I've said, working a job, going on to become a pastor. Things have been very busy. So I try to make podcasts when I can, talking about things, but Super Bowl season is coming up. We are about, I think, 3 weeks away from Super Bowl, if I'm correct. So we're getting close to the Avengers Doomsday, final big trailer to come at us. And I believe Spider-Man Brand New Day as well. So we got quite a bit of big things. And we're going to be looking at some of the Avengers Doomsday, the Doomsday Clock and everything, and the theories about that, kind of my thoughts on all that, and kind of looking at some of the Doomsday trailers and discussing those, because I haven't done them on the channel yet. But first and foremost, I want to talk about Daredevil, because the first Marvel series coming out, of course, this year, outside of Wonder Man, of course, is Daredevil Born Again. Now, as of right now, I saw that it was slated to come out on March 4th. That was kind of like the rumors going around. If you go to Disney Plus right now and you look at the Daredevil Born Again show, it will say Season 2 coming in March. I've also been hearing a lot of rumors about there potentially being a postponing of the season's release date into later in the year, or potentially next year, which doesn't make sense for me. But there is a worrying factor of this, and that is the fact that we are getting close to being about a month away from this series dropping, meaning you have less than 2 months to drop a multitude of marketing for this show, right? Talk about cutting it close to things, right? Now, all the way back in October, we got the first trailer for Daredevil Born Again leaked to us from a event that was being held, where they were showing some trailers for upcoming projects and stuff. And, of course, as you can see on my screen, those are the trailers in the background. Now, I was trying to find on X any new information on Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and it literally looks like the last, big news that we got was back in October. And I haven't seen anything whatsoever about... this one says December 18th. I guess you could say that that's normal, with some new, screenshots of characters and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we really haven't gotten any trailer stuff, officially from Marvel Studios. Like I said, unless you saw the leaked trailer from that event that was taking place, there has been nothing in terms of Daredevil Born Again updates, really, for months now at this point, right? Yeah, you get a little bit of dropping of pictures and stuff here and there, but there's nothing from Marvel Studios themselves. And they were doing a podcast and talking about the upcoming projects this year on Marvel Entertainment, and Daredevil was talked about in that. So Daredevil is coming out this year. I guess the question that kind of remains right now is, are they taking a very bold marketing strategy and deciding to dump a lot of marketing within a 1 month span of the series coming out, or are they delaying the series to coming out later this year? Now, personally speaking, I think Daredevil just needs to come out in March, because, when it comes to Daredevil, this is my most anticipated show of the year, period. Like, out of every Marvel show coming out this year, Daredevil Born Again is really the only one I care about and I'm looking forward to outside of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2. And it's unfortunate because with Daredevil Born Again, you know, the first season was a letdown. I actually rewatched it not long ago, and while there were moments in some episodes that were good, Born Again Season 1 for me was a big letdown. There was a severe lack of action, and while the courtroom stuff that they had was good, I believe it was in Episode 3, the trial of Hector Ayala, and into Episode 4, like, that stuff was good, but Episode 5 just completely pumps the brakes, in my opinion, in the whole story. Like, Episode 5, I feel like was so out of place and could have been completely taken out of the season, and I ranted about that on my podcast, on a review for Season 5, so if you haven't seen that, it's in there in my videos, but when it comes to Daredevil Season 2, by the sounds of it, they are going very heavy with the action this time around and giving the fans what they want, which is good, by the way. Because when you watch Daredevil on Netflix, there was a good balance between the drama and the action. Granted, on Netflix, they have, 13 episodes to, flesh out the characters, to do full character arcs and everything. Where they don't, unfortunately, on Disney Plus, because it seems like they're doing that whole, 8 or 9 episodes, so you're getting, a whole 3 hours less of content than on Netflix. But if they are ramping up the action, that is going to definitely make this series much better. But it's balancing the action and the drama out, so that way it doesn't feel like we're getting too little of each. And I think that the original Daredevil series on Netflix did such a great job with that, of balancing the drama and the character building, even using the, religious themes of Catholicism and whatnot with Matt Murdock's character. Like, they blended everything so well in the OG series. And my major problem with Born Again was there really wasn't much to do with Matt's faith in Born Again. There were some lines dropped here and there, but there was never really any emphasis on Matt's faith in Season 1 of Born Again. And that's another element I think Born Again was missing, because, you see, Matt Murdock as a character, right, especially after Frank Miller took over writing the character in Marvel Comics, his faith became a very big part of his character, and, kind of part of his, I guess you could say, ethos of why he does what he does and what motivates him to, do what he does, and his code of, how he does vigilante justice. And ultimately, them straying so far away from that in Born Again Season 1 and just basically dropping some religious lines here and there, or having some slight, religious imagery, if you will, in the show, it didn't hit like the Netflix series. Because they really dived into Matt's faith in the Netflix series, especially in Season 3. Season 3 for me was definitely the best season of Daredevil Born Again. And I think seeing him struggle with his faith and struggling with him, going back and forth on if he was going to kill Fisk or not, and how they dealt with all of that, was truly inspiring, and very, very well done. But my major issue with Born Again is the fact that they didn't have all that, managed well. And obviously with having two different teams, that kind of makes it hard, right? So with Season 2, they have me very excited because the action's going to be there. The suit looks really good. The plot is very interesting this time around, since we're seeing basically Daredevil create his own little army to go up against Kingpin and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. And just kind of seeing how they end the Wilson Fisk-Matt Murdock rivalry. Because Wilson Fisk has been a part of the MCU now, including, if you count the Netflix series, obviously, which they do now. It has been a long time. We're talking back when I started high school. So it's at least, Wilson Fisk has been, a street-level villain for about a decade now, right? And Vincent D'Onofrio is getting older, and so isn't Charlie Cox, but Charlie Cox is much younger than Vincent. And I think it's time to kind of retire Kingpin. as like a main villain. I think if Kingpin wants to pull strings from the back, I think that's fine. But I'm hoping that they end Kingpin off well. And I think with Vincent, you know, by the sounds of it, Daredevil Season 3 is going to focus on a different villain. And they're going to, like, Season 3 is going to be the full, like, form return to what Daredevil was on Netflix. Like, Season 2 is fixing a lot of what Season 1 did wrong, making it feel more like Daredevil. But Season 3 is ultimately when they're like, yeah, we're going to fully, like, do our own thing. So, by the sounds of it, they might kill Kingpin by the end of Season 2, or they might simply just write his character off as kind of being like more of a background character that pulls strings rather than being directly involved in front of the camera. And then, of course, you could replace it with Tombstone and make Tombstone like the next ground level boss, I guess you could say. But yeah, so my whole thing with Daredevil right now is, you know, I'm excited for the series, but we've seen so little. Yeah, we've seen a lot of pictures, and there's that one trailer that a specific group of people got to see, but I want the full trailer. I want the full Daredevil trailer. And we know we know Daredevil's not gonna get a Super Bowl TV spot. Daredevil's not big enough of a character to get a TV spot, okay? And not as many people watch Daredevil on Disney Plus or on Netflix as they do regular MCU films. So Daredevil is catered to a specific audience, okay? And while I personally think Daredevil is the best TV show I've ever watched in my entire life, because of the writing, he is a character that deserves this season 2 on Disney Plus to really hit. And I'm really hoping it does. And it's the only TV show I'm excited for. I did my Stranger Things review. The ending to that show is very disappointing for most people. And I'm hoping Daredevil can kind of give me that TV fix. Because I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I didn't even watch Alien Earth. I was going to, but then I just didn't. And Daredevil's the only TV show I care about. So I'm really hoping that Marvel, whenever this series gets its trailer and comes out, I really hope that it lands. Because I've been struggling trying to find something to get excited about in the Marvel TV scene since Born Again last year. Marvel Zombies gave me a little fix. Marvel Zombies was kind of like a pleasant surprise of like a little fun adventure. But that's all it was. It was a one-off. It's not like it's going to get multiple seasons. And if they do give us a Marvel Zombie Season 2, that's cool. But then again, it's a different world, different kind of stakes. It's its own thing, right? Where Daredevil is included in the main MCU, it's just on the ground level. And I like ground level Marvel better. And of course, this opens the door for Jessica Jones to come back along with any of the other Defenders. I can't wait for the Punisher special this year as well. That's something they got to start advertising and start getting out there as well. The word of mouth. And that's obviously going to directly tie into Spider-Man. So we know the Punisher special will have to release. Anywhere, I would say, probably between February to June. If I had to take a guess when we'll get the Punisher special, I would say May. I would say, and the reason I say May is because, or probably like mid to late May, is it gives enough time for the Punisher special to happen and them to build up hype off the Punisher special leading into Brand New Day. So it gives them time to do that. But yeah, so I am excited about how they're going to do Season 2 of Daredevil. I think Marvel this year has a real good potential of getting good favor with people again. With Daredevil, with Punisher, with Spider-Man Brand New Day, and obviously the ultimate test at the end of the year being Doomsday. Doomsday will make a lot of money, okay? Despite how bad the MCU writing has been over the past, like, decade since Endgame, outside of a few projects like Shang-Chi, outside of Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, Born Again on the TV side of things, and Loki's pretty good. There has been a lot of missteps. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to get a Moon Knight Season 2. I'm so pissed. Moon Knight is like my third favorite Marvel character. So if I rank my Spider-Man, if I rank my Marvel characters, it's Spider-Man, Daredevil than Moon Knight in the hero category. And then when it comes to the villains, because Spider-Man has a great rogues gallery, it goes Taskmaster. And I know Taskmaster's not a Spider-Man villain, but I've always loved Taskmaster. He's always just been that kind of gimmicky villain that I really like in Marvel Comics. But anyway, so Taskmaster, Green Goblin, very good villain. I really like, Doc Ock, especially when he does the whole Superior Spider-Man thing and swapping bodies and stuff. Like, that was pretty interesting. And Venom when he is a villain, but Venom is, I would argue is kind of like that villain / anti-hero, so he kind of blurs that line of both. But I do like Venom when it's that specific story with the symbiote suit. But Venom as a villain outside of the symbiote suit storyline to me just kind of falls apart in my personal opinion. And then following him, you could say I am quite a big fan of I've always been quite a big fan of the Lizard. The Lizard was always a pretty cool villain in my opinion for Spider-Man. So yeah, I would say those are kind of like my top villains. But yeah, unfortunately we're not going to get a Moon Knight season 2. And that kind of makes me upset because Moon Knight had such potential, and I'm very sad that we will not get a continuation of that series. But I hope they utilize Moon Knight in Doomsday. Please bring Moon Knight back. Don't forget about Moon Knight. Moon Knight is such a slept-on character. It's not even funny. But yeah, that's pretty much for Daredevil and the TV side of things. We really haven't gotten any new information, and it's a little worrisome, and if they do delay it, I hope that they give us a date as to when that's actually coming, instead of just kind of throwing it up in the air, because I've been thinking this year is Daredevil's year, and if they say they're pushing it back till next year, I'm going to be pissed, because I feel like with next year, the only big thing with Marvel next year is Secret Wars. And that is going to be the biggest movie of maybe all time. That might straight up just beat Avatar on all levels. Because it's literally the biggest Marvel comic you can think of. Talking about the multiverse and Battle World and everything, like, it is insane. And I'm very excited for Secret Wars. Listen, Secret Wars is that kind of movie where no matter how bad the writing is for that film, I will still be excited for it. Because it's literally the biggest Marvel, sandbox, film you could ever think of. Like, you're just throwing everything you got into that movie. Every character, cameo, anything that's going to get the fans excited. That is Secret Wars. So even if you're not a fan of the writing, that movie's going to make the real money. But for Avengers Doomsday now, switching gears to Avengers Doomsday. So there has been this conversation about the Doomsday Clock, right? And about how on each of the trailers, when it ends, there's like this slight flicker that happens before the Doomsday Clock starts. And you see all these different, numbers and letters and stuff. And people realize, well, if you look at Avengers Endgame, because apparently Doomsday is a direct sequel to Avengers Endgame, that it actually stops on certain timestamps in Avengers Endgame. One is with the Hulk and the Ancient One talking about removing the Time Stone and creating alternate realities and dark forces and stuff. One is talking about, getting the Space Stone, the Power Stone, the Mind Stone, the Soul Stone. So basically every timestamp has to deal with the Infinity Stones. And there's a lot of questions right now circulating about, what exactly caused the incursion, right? Was it Captain America having a child? Was it the taking of these stones? What is the thing that started the Doomsday Clock? There is a lot of questions about Avengers Doomsday. And there are some questions that I think plays in favor of Doomsday's marketing, and then there's questions that does not. Let me explain. Bringing Robert Downey Jr. back, Chris Evans back, and the old X-Men and stuff is a desperation move. We all know that, okay? And the fact that they're tying this movie into the biggest movie that Marvel Studios has ever had, profit-wise, says a lot. Avengers Endgame is the pinnacle of the MCU. When it basically where the top of the MCU was before the Great Decline. Them bringing all these, actors back, tying it to that great legacy of the Infinity Saga is all desperation move. But the thing about it is there's things that we need answers to, like, okay, so what version of Chris Evans is this? Is this an alternate version of Chris Evans? Is this, gonna play into what causes the whole timeline ripple? And if this isn't the same Steve Rogers that we saw at the end of Endgame, then which Steve Rogers is it? When it comes to Robert Downey Jr. coming back to play Doctor Doom, like, is Doctor Doom going to look like Robert Downey Jr., or is it just going to be played by him and they're going to give him, like, a bunch of makeup and maybe do some, voice-changing stuff to make him completely look different or whatnot? I don't know. And if he is supposed to look like Tony Stark, right, then explaining how that is, right? Like, is it Tony Stark playing Doctor Doom? Or turning into Doctor Doom? Is it Victor Von Doom? Is he just Doctor Doom in name only? Like, there's so many questions I have about this, right? And I have had since they announced Robert Downey Jr. was coming back to play Doom. Now, I have a personal theory that they're going to leave Tony Stark the way that he looked at the end of Endgame after post-snap, and he has, like, the burnt side of his face and everything. That is going to be what he looks like underneath the mask. That the snap is what caused his body to get disfigured and scarred. And that's how he's going to look under the mask. Like, we come to find out, somehow, that Endgame Tony, dead Endgame Tony, is alive. Somehow. And now Doctor Doom. So, that's my theory on the Doctor Doom thing and how he'll look under the mask. But there's so many questions as to how they're going to make all this work and make it make sense, right? That's the stuff that's not going in their favor. The things that are going into their favor is what is Doctor Doom's plan? The motive, what started the incursions, right? We know Doom's ultimate goal is to make Battleworld, right? Anybody that has read Secret Wars knows Battleworld is the end game. But the question is, why does Doom want to create Battleworld? What is his motivation? You see, we know with Thanos, his motivation was to essentially eliminate half of existence in the universe, half of the population, so that way people could eat and not starve. And so, basically, he could heal resource depletion, right? To save people and civilizations. And that was Thanos' endgame. Outside of Avengers Endgame, where he just wanted to destroy everything at that point. Just kind of turning more into a generic villain. But Infinity War Endgame had his motive. We didn't know the motive until Infinity War. But they built Thanos up as a threat with cutscene after end cutscene throughout phases 1 through 3, slightly showing us a little more and more of Thanos. And now, here we are with Avengers Doomsday. And we have that same question with Thanos. Okay, we know that he's a big bad, but what's the ultimate goal of Doctor Doom? Outside of creating Battleworld, right? Like, what's his motivation? And I don't know how they're going to do this. I really hope that we get to go to other worlds in Doomsday. That we're not just stuck on the main canon MCU world. We're not going to be in the Fantastic Four world by the looks, because they came to the main canon MCU. The only other world it looks like we will see is the X-Men world. So maybe Doomsday will have to do with an incursion between the 616 Earth, aka main MCU continuity Earth, and the X-Men Earth, potentially. That might be everything we see. How will Deadpool and Wolverine play into it, or other Spider-Men? I don't know. But this movie is going to be interesting. Very interesting. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't. I do have to say, though, I am intrigued as to what they could do. Because I think that there's some very big things they could do, exciting things they could do, but will they actually take those swings? What characters are we going to kill off? Where are the big stakes going to be, right? We know the movie will end with Doctor Doom winning and creating Battleworld. The ending of the movie is already set in stone, okay? Watching Avengers Doomsday is not about rooting for the heroes to win. It's expecting the villain to win, to have Battleworld created, to go into Secret Wars, where Doctor Doom will lose, and the reboot of the MCU will start. That is very interesting, fun questions of its own, but it's just, I guess the most interesting thing about Doomsday is just like, well, what's, like, we know Doctor Doom's end goal, but, like, what's his motivation? What's Doctor Doom's motivation? How does Tony Stark become Doctor Doom, or why does Doctor Doom look like Tony Stark? Those are the kind of questions we're going to be getting answered, and how this version of Steve Rogers is alive, and we're going to get some great action sequences. Doomsday and Secret Wars, like, this is kind of the one thing that sucks now about Avengers movies. You can kind of tell where they're going with it. You know what kind of things to expect. And that kind of sucks. Because it's predictable. And we don't want things to be predictable. We want things to be exciting. We want things to be, you know, us wondering, like, what are they going to do? And unfortunately, we just don't have that right now. We just have the theories. And, you know, that's cool and all, but, like, back when Infinity War came out, we knew people were going to die. And Endgame, we knew people were going to die. I think the problem with Marvel is they need to kill off more main characters. You see, bringing Robert Downey Jr. back and bringing Chris Evans back, in my opinion, kind of hurts the ability to have deaths be lasting and mean something. And if you bring Tony Stark back, like, let's say Tony Stark, the big reveal is Doctor Doom is Tony Stark from the end of Endgame. Right. And then he gets killed again. That ruins Endgame and Tony's ending of that 10-year build-up. Right? It would ruin that. What are we going to do with Steve Rogers? What is his whole role in this? Right? That's another major thing. What's his role? Why is he important? Why is he back? Outside of just getting fans to the theaters. Right? We have all those kind of questions. And for me, I'm struggling with this movie because I have no doubt that there's going to be great action sequences and stuff, but, like, how are you going to explain some of these major loopholes and make it make sense? The problem is with Marvel movies are we know how they end. You see, when Infinity War had the villain winning in the end, that was actually something new at the time. But we knew that in Endgame, Thanos was going to come back, so we knew Thanos had to win in some kind of capacity, but just not in the way that he did. And Doctor Doom, it's kind of the same thing. Like, we expect Doctor Doom to win in Doomsday, just like Thanos did, but then everything's going to be fine and reversed at the end of the movie when it comes to Secret Wars. Now, yeah, if Marvel decides to kill off the old X-Men in Doomsday or Infinity War, that means nothing. You want to know why that means nothing? Because those actors are just coming back to get people in the seats. For nostalgia. And don't get me wrong, it's a pretty good tactic. It is exciting to see those people come back and reprise their roles as those characters. Like the X-Men trailer for Doomsday? Bro. Look at this. I mean, this trailer, by the way, out of all the Doomsday trailers so far, Best
For
one.
us all.
Best one. Easily.
That's all I know for sure. The question isn't, are you prepared to die?
It's so good.
Who will you be?
Who would think talking in a trailer could be exciting? Listen, the Fantastic Four Wakanda one, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't give a shit about that trailer. The Captain America trailer, I was more so questioning what the hell was going on with that and how they were going to make that work, right? And the second trailer with Thor, same thing. It's like, I don't like, you know, it doesn't really get me excited. This trailer, out of all of them so far, is the only one that's gotten me excited.
When you close your eyes.
It's so nice to see all the old X-Men together. I mean, technically we got Patrick Stewart back in, Multiverse of Madness, but that was a cameo in a completely different version of Professor X. My question is, though, is this from, like, the actual X-Men trilogy X-Men, or, like... Okay, this right here, if you want to talk about aura farming and getting somebody into the theaters, this scene right here, that's the money shot. Look at this. You got Sentinel feet in the background. Sentinels. Do you know how long I've been waiting to see a comic-accurate Sentinel on the big screen? I've been waiting a while. We got comic-accurate Cyclops. That's crazy. This is the only trailer out of all the trailers that actually made me say, okay, Marvel, I'm listening. Not because there's anything, like, story-wise here that is so interesting. It's just, it's good nostalgia bait. That's what this is. This is what I mean by, like, these next two Avengers movies will make a shit ton of money. You throw at the fans everything they want to see, they'll be there. They will sit in that theater and they will watch. And that's the thing with this. They have some good nostalgia bait. This is such a... It's so good. It's so good. Oh, it gives me just chills watching this, like, little trailer of the X-Men returning. Man. But yeah, I want to see some good action in this movie. And I know we're going to get it. But like I said, killing the X-Men off mean nothing. They're not even from the mainline MCU. Yeah, it'll be sad for those that grew up with the X-Men. But like I said, this is all a marketing thing. This isn't taking the MCU characters that we know, putting them in a movie against a big bad villain. No, they got to bring people back from the past. You got to bring back Tobey Maguire. You got to bring back, you know, all the original X-Men. Well, not all of them, but a good amount of them, right? Enough to get people into the theater. And it's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What are we doing? I remember sitting and watching Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters. And I can't remember. I think it was 2 years ago Deadpool and Wolverine came out. Yeah. It's 2 years ago. And I was like, man, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine was a fun movie. But in terms of moving us towards Doomsday, it didn't really do much. And they didn't really signal to what they were going to do in Doomsday. I mean, we know both of those characters are going to be in the movie. The question is, though, how are they going to work everything? How are you going to work Deadpool into a PG-13 film? Very curious about that. I know they had a PG-13 version of Deadpool 2, but we're not going to count that. That was basically just like the TV version of the movie. But yeah, like I said, they have marketing. Like, if you make marketing with the X-Men, you make marketing with all the characters people want to see, people will get their asses in the seats, for sure. I'm just very worried about the story. MCU writing has not been that great. I know the Russo brothers are back and stuff, but like I said, this is a lot of just nostalgia bait to get people to go to the theaters. And with those theories about, like, oh, the stones and the time heist being the cause of everything, right? What else, like, is that going to play a role in for the movie? Like, the time heist happened. What's Doctor Doom going to do about the time heist? And from what we know from Loki and stuff is that the Infinity Stones really don't matter anymore. So why are we now refocusing on the Infinity Stones? Why are we now refocusing on past elements, right? Like I said, the problem with Avengers Doomsday for me is the movie, like, I know that Avengers Secret Wars is going to literally be reference, cameo, like, basically nerdgasm galore. Anything you can think of that is in Marvel Comics will probably be in Avengers Secret Wars, right? And I expect that out of Secret Wars. It is supposed to be the biggest Marvel movie of all time. I don't know what Marvel's gonna do after Secret Wars to top Secret Wars. I don't think you can. I think Marvel after Secret Wars is going to be maybe making a few $100 million per film they make. It's not going to be big. Marvel is not going to be a juggernaut post Secret Wars. I'm telling you that right now. This series will die. It will. Yeah, they might be rebooting it, but I don't think it's going to be as famous. I think the MCU will come to its inevitable conclusion post Secret Wars. I just don't think people are going to care anymore. I think Secret Wars, in my opinion, is kind of where I might stop with the MCU outside of Daredevil and Spider-Man stuff. Those are the only two characters I care about in Marvel after Secret Wars, really. Which is kind of sad to think about, but Secret Wars for me is kind of like my last hoorah with Marvel outside of Daredevil and Spider-Man. But that's going to be me consuming Marvel content every few years rather than an every year basis. Unless they can build up that new universe as something really exciting, but I don't see it. So, yeah. I think my time with the MCU is getting close to an end. And by that I mean next year. Pretty much. Like I said, outside of Daredevil and Spider-Man. Because I don't really know what more they could do to interest me in the franchise anymore. Maybe they can. Maybe they can throw something together that would get me excited, but it's hard. Even with Marvel Comics, like, I took 10-year hiatus from Marvel Comics, probably, or close to that, from back when I was in high school. Probably even before when I was in high school. Like, I stopped reading Marvel Comics, I think, in middle school. And I didn't pick up another comic book until the most recent Ultimate run of Ultimate Wolverine, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther. Like, reading through the new Ultimate run was amazing. The new Ultimate Universe, which unfortunately is ending, or has ended, that universe was so good. And it's kind of sad to see it literally die a few years after its creation, because it's like, bro, that is the best thing Marvel's had in like a decade. So, like, I'm now on another Marvel hiatus, you know, from the comic book scene. And my major issue with, you know, particularly the Doomsday stuff is this movie just feels like nostalgia bait. And they're using nostalgia from old 2000s Marvel fans, nostalgia bait from MCU fans of the glory days of the MCU, so much so that they have to bring back Chris Evans, they have to bring back Robert Downey Jr., and have to directly follow up on Endgame. To me, that shows that whatever they were doing with Kang and whatever they were doing post-Endgame, they had no fucking idea what they were building up to. And don't get me wrong, I was sold on Kang until Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, when they beat Kang with Ant-Man, and then I was like, so that's the big bad of fucking the MCU, is a guy that got beat by Ant-Man. And it's really unfortunate that Kang didn't get to actually get his story. Don't get me wrong, I think Doctor Doom is a much more Doctor Doom is a really big villain in Marvel. Like, even if Doctor Doom is not one of your personally favorite villains, Doctor Doom is a menace. Bro has his own country of Latveria, with his, like, medieval castle and shit. And bro is not only, like, a tech genius in a way, but he's also a magical genius. Like, he can do both. So, you know, Doctor Doom is a very intelligent character. And I love Doctor Doom. Maybe he's not one of my favorite Marvel villains of all time, but he is one of my favorite villains. He's up there in, like, the top 10, for sure. But the thing about it is like, Avengers Endgame, unfortunately, Avengers Doomsday, unfortunately, suffers from what Endgame did not have. A lack of build-up. You see, Endgame had the build-up. It had everything. Endgame had everything. They showed Thanos in multiple post-credit scenes, even in some of the Guardians films, and they built Thanos up to be an ultimate threat, looming in the background as each movie had its own story it followed. And then Civil War, which I would argue was a very pivotal movie in the original Infinity Saga, split the Avengers up, setting the stage for Infinity War. The problem is with Doomsday, there is no movie that's set up leading into Doomsday. There was a post-credit scene in Thunderbolts of the Fantastic Four coming to our world. And the Fantastic Four's post-credit scene teases Doctor Doom. But that's it. That's it. A tease, and that's it. That's not a lot. Not a lot of build-up to Doom whatsoever. And there isn't a movie that dedicates itself on showing our characters be put at a disadvantage with Doctor Doom coming. And how did Reed Richards all of a sudden be able to cross through dimensions? Don't know. Hopefully they explain that in Doomsday. But I feel like Doomsday has a lot to cover with very little time. Building Doom up, they can do. They did it in Infinity War, but I think the problem with not having Doom be teased in post-credit scenes throughout the multiverse saga, I mean, obviously, who wasn't the original plan, but it hurts the movie. Because, you know, you're getting a villain that, if you've read Marvel Comics, you understand his power level and why he's dangerous and all this. But, you know, if you're just a casual person, you don't know who Doctor Doom is and what he's capable of. So, how are you going to set the stage with Doctor Doom? How do we get introduced to this character for the first time? I have a lot of questions like that. But, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I'll be honest with you, I feel like these podcasts at this point, when I do them, becomes less about, like, news and, you know, informing you guys about stuff, which is how I used to do things. It's more so kind of just me talking about Marvel, the movies, and just kind of how they're making me feel in the moment. Because right now with Marvel, I don't know what to feel. I don't know what to feel. Genuinely, I don't know what to feel. Because I think Marvel has great potential. But they kind of just shit it down the toilet all the time. And I want to be excited for Doomsday. I want to be excited for Doomsday on the levels that I am for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and Spider-Man Brand New Day. I want that level of excitement to be on Doomsday. But like I said, that Super Bowl TV spot and the trailer they released that night on YouTube that coincides with that TV spot, that needs to fucking hit. That TV spot / trailer needs to show Doctor Doom as a fucking menace. Why we should fear him and give us some kind of insight to his plan. We know the end goal, but give me something. Everybody is waiting on seeing Doctor Doom. Everybody is gripping their chairs, waiting to see the first frontal shot of this man. And I really hope Marvel Studios can nail these next 2 Avengers films. Because if this is going to be my final hoorah of a 2 years with Marvel, outside of Daredevil, Punisher, and Spider-Man, or Moon Knight, if they bring him back, they need to go out with a bang. They need to do it on some big, grandiose level things. Do not disappoint me like Stranger Things. You see, if the MCU ended at Endgame, I would be fine. Most of the Spider-Man stuff since then has been mediocre at best. Yeah, Daredevil got revived, but that's also mediocre at best. So I would have been fine with Endgame being the end of the MCU. It was kind of the perfect ending. I don't think Endgame was a great movie. I think Endgame was a kind of a boring film outside of the last final battle, which was pretty awesome and amazing. But the ending was perfect for all the characters. And now you're forced to dig up that legacy and try not to ruin that legacy. And that is the scary part about Doomsday and Secret Wars. They could potentially ruin the legacy of what Infinity War and Endgame built. And that truly would be a shame. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got to yap about today. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. Just kind of talking about everything. I think going forward, my podcasts are going to be relatively kind of like this, where instead of me giving you guys news information, it's just going to be me yapping about what I think about things. Because I don't have the time to keep up with the news anymore. I keep up with it well enough to at least be in on the rumors and stuff. But I kind of just want to talk about it. I just want to talk about it. And give my thoughts on things. You know, for about 7+ years of my life doing this podcast, I used to keep up with the news of Marvel and the industry and everything like that. But now I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm very busy with stuff. And if I make a podcast, it should basically just be me talking about whatever is coming out that I'm interested in, video game or movie-wise, give my thoughts on it, my concerns on it, rant about it if it's completely terrible, and just kind of keep it at that. So I guess going forward, the content's going to be a lot more chillaxed and kind of more from a reactive standpoint rather than a news standpoint. And of course, you know, if you guys don't enjoy that or don't want that kind of content, I would not blame you guys for unsubscribing or just not really staying in tune with this channel, which is fine. I get it. But if you do want to listen to me just kind of yap about Marvel and stuff, then cool. If anybody wants to yap with me about Marvel, there is like a collab, not page, but there's like a collab chat on my Discord. Just put your username and stuff in there. Say, hey, I'd like to sit down with you on a podcast sometime and just talk Marvel, and I can invite you into one of the Discord calls, and I can put on my OBS and we can just chat about Marvel and what we think. So if you're interested in that, and at this point, I'm opening that up to anybody that listens to the podcast. If you just want to yap about Marvel sometime, you know, especially about Doomsday, Daredevil, Spider-Man, whatever, reach out in the Discord. I mean, the Discord's been pretty dead for a long time. Like, I still keep it there because, you know, I do like to post things once in a blue moon on there, mainly when I upload. And it's just a nice place to have for the community to just talk with each other, amongst each other. Even if I'm not making videos actively or doing a lot, you know, it's just a nice place to have that community. But yeah, if you guys want to talk with me, literally just go into the, into that Discord. Hold on, I'll actually show it to you guys, really quick. No, don't switch. So, here in my Discord, podcast guest requests, if you just, you know, put your, name in there, or you want to put a message in there and say, hey, I'd like to come onto the podcast sometime and talk about Marvel with you, then we can very much do that. But that's down to you guys and your preference of if you want to do that or not. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope I didn't yap your ear off too badly. And I will catch you all sometime in the future, whenever there's more to yap about. Probably closer to Super Bowl. So the next time you see me on here podcast-wise will be on Super Bowl. I might stream a game or something. That's another thing too. I do stream randomly on this channel, video games and stuff. Same with Twitch. Sometimes I'll just randomly do a stream. I don't really have a schedule or anything, so that's why I don't like put it in the chat or anything. But if you are interested in watching streams from me, just pay attention to the channel because sometimes I tend to pop up. But until the next one, stay safe and God bless.